What's up, Moose? Hi. Hello, everyone. Hello, Rocks. It's official. It's official. We're doing a bench video. All right. Good talk. What is happening, people? It is Brian Alsruhe with NeverSate.com, and today's video is going to be some of my favorite exercises to help build mass and strength for your triceps. Now, if you are brand new to the channel, you might find it interesting to know that I am not a big believer in direct arm work, especially direct bicep work. I have not done a curl since high school, which was a couple decades ago. However, I do spend some time at the very end of my press workouts doing some direct tricep work, and the reason why is because when it comes for strength, your triceps cannot be too strong. Whether it be a bench, an overhead press, a log cleaner press, whatever the case may be, if you have strong triceps, it can forgive a whole lot of sins and get you out of a lot of sticky situations when it comes to pressing out a bar. That is number one. Number two, of course, when we're talking about mass, the tricep makes up a huge portion of your arm. And I actually had a coach, my very, very first coach when I was 13. I went up and I was doing curls and he walked out to me. He was a football coach and he wanted me to play football, and I was all into like fighting stuff at the time and I didn't want to play football. And he was like, "Man, you want bigger arms, don't you?" And I was like, yes, sir, I would like bigger arms. At which time he proceeded to explain that the tricep is made up of 3 muscle groups and the bicep is made up of 2. And 3 is better than 2, so you should do more tricep work. And I believed him. So from that point on, I went full in on the tricep work, and I'm so happy that I did, because I can honestly say that is probably one of the biggest reasons why my pressing is so good. That and my little T-Rex arms. But I am choosing to believe that maybe some of it had to do with all that tricep work that I did early in my lifting career. Now, breaking up these exercises into basically 3 tiers. Tier 1 are going to be the exercises that are going to be the most important. They're the ones that I use the most, that I truly feel that you get the most bang for your buck. It will build the most strength and size on your tricep with those. The second group is going to be more of like your assistance kind of things. The first group you can use almost as like maximum effort work in a conjugate program. You can go for 1 rep maximums, 2 rep maximums, 3 rep maximums. You can go super heavy on those exercises. The second group is going to be more assistance stuff, addressing some more of the weak points and maybe some stability stuff. And then the third group is going to be more of that bodybuilding isolation type of thing. So without further ado, I'm going to jump right in, starting out with the big movers. Now, of course, we're going to start out talking about with different types of presses. And I'm not going to stick to the traditional stuff like the bench press and the overhead press, because of course those are going to work your triceps. Anytime that you're locking out your arms like that, you absolutely will be. But I'm going to be sticking to these bigger movements, are going to be presses that specifically more target your triceps. And the first of which is probably the king and the one that everyone's going to know is going to be first, is going to be the close grip bench press. Of course, I personally believe, it is my contention, that too many people slide their hands in much too far on this, and it ends up being kind of dicey on your wrist. So I believe that this should be called the closer grip bench press, and you should just move your hands in just some, not a lot, some. Because the basic idea here is that the closer grip allows you to keep your elbows a little bit more tucked, and for most lifters, more tucked elbows initiates a little bit more tricep. And I actually have another video that you're probably going to want to check out. I will link it in the description down below, where I talk about your bench grip width and how bringing it in just a little bit probably will benefit you a lot. And most people, once they work the close grip bench press for any amount of time, will find that they can almost do as much on that exercise as they can their normal bench press, and then they kind of need to reevaluate where their actual power is. Now, the main second type of pressing that I want to talk about is where you start to limit the range of motion. Since your triceps are mainly activated in the top half to top third of your bench press or any type of press, that's merely when you want to focus. So the very first one of those presses I want to talk about is the pin press. You can use it on the bench press, on the overhead press, on any type of press. All you're going to do is take the safety pins in the rack or whatever you have access to and just limit the range of motion so that you just are working the top portion. Now, with the same exact idea in mind, you can also perform the floor press. The only thing that I will say about the floor press, again, you're just working the top portion of the lift, except this time instead of the pin stopping the bar, it is going to be the back of your arms or your elbows. Now, what I want you to understand here is that you want to consider the barbell as an immovable object, and you also want to consider the floor as an immovable object. So if you come crashing down and try to literally bounce the bar like you do bouncing the bar off your chest sometimes, if you do that in this situation, something's going to give, and it's not going to be the barbell or the floor. It's going to have to be some of those little bones in your arm, and that's going to be ugly. So if you are choosing to perform the floor press, make sure that you are taking your time on the descent. Go down, make sure you rest it in the bottom, and then explode up. But do not come crashing down with that bar, because trust me, bones break. Also in this group would be the board press or the block press, and all that's happening is either someone is taking a board and holding it on your chest, or if you are like me and you do not have friends, or a block for that matter. But the basic idea here is that either that block, which you stick on the barbell, or the board limits the range of motion. So again, you're just working the top portion of the lift. But again, you need friends. And then the third main type of pressing that I want to talk about is the semi-supinated or neutral grip pressing. Now, most gyms, a lot of them will carry something like a Swiss bar or a multi-grip bar where there are a bunch of handles where you can kind of get to that neutral grip position. This is a lot safer for many people's shoulders, so a lot of people will use that for that reason, but you're able to keep your elbows a lot more tucked here, and that is gonna get more tricep activation. If you have access to a log, you can always use it there if you can figure out a way to set it up with the safety pins, and you can even use it with dumbbells. However, in these presses, virtually every single other one that I've mentioned, like I said earlier in the video, you could use in a conjugate program as like a maximum effort lift. You can go for a 1 rep max, a 2, a 3, a 4 rep max. You can go very, very heavy on those, but a dumbbell neutral grip, I'd probably go a little bit lighter and just so use that more for like assistant stuff. But if you are going with a Swiss bar or a log, feel free to knock yourself out and go heavy. But that is the end of the main bulk of the big Tier 1 exercises are going to put on the majority of the mass and strength in your body. From here, now we move on to the assistant stuff. And the very first thing that I want to talk about for the assistant stuff, which I find probably the most important, is the weighted dip. Now, I've been in the weighted dip club for as long as I've been lifting. Dips have always been something that I found very, very important because, again, my coach told me it would give me big arms and I knew it would give me some strength. And a lot of people struggle with it, so I thought it was cool to be able to make them feel bad about themselves. Yeah. So then when I started seeing a little bit of the results from those dips, I thought adding weight to it could get better and better. And then I literally treated the weighted dip almost like a maximum effort exercise. I got up to some absolutely ridiculous weights, moving some stuff that you probably shouldn't even try doing on a weighted dip. However, I 100% account that for much, very, very much of why I can bench the way that I can and overhead press the way that I can. Definitely, absolutely, the weighted dip did so much for me. Next assistance exercise that I'd like to talk to you about is the JM Press. Now, this is something that a lot of people have never done before. It is kind of a mix of a tricep extension with a barbell and a close grip bench press. The basic idea here is that you're gonna squeeze that bar really hard, either thumbs in or thumbs out, and then you're going to lower it down to basically your neck. Once your forearm and your bicep touch and you get to that spot where it doesn't want to go any further, you push that bar back up. That's pretty much it. Now, I didn't know if you noticed, but that press is not called the Brian Alsruhe press, so I would recommend that you go check out JM Blakely or Dave Tate, both of which have good tutorials on how to do this. But speaking of Dave Tate, if you guys do have an Elite FTS Yoke Bar, their version of the SSB, which I do because Dave Tate is an awesome human being who actually sent me one out for free. But if you take the handles off that thing, you're able to do a version of the JM Press that can help you kind of guide the movement, because this is not the simplest movement to get a hold of. I would highly recommend starting light and working your way up. But the JM Press is an awesome, awesome movement that you can throw everything on your triceps. The final group of assistance exercises that I think a lot of people neglect for their triceps are stabilization type of exercises. Now, I know a lot of people do stuff with negatives. They will either lock out an overhead press or a bench press and lower very slowly, trying to kind of get that overcompensating type of effect. But you can do the same exact thing with a waiter's walk. All that a waiter's walk is, basically you grab something heavy, you put it above your head, and you walk with it like a waiter. Now, you can do this one arm at a time with a dumbbell or a kettlebell. If you want to make it very hard, flip that kettlebell bottoms up, or you can go super heavy with something like a yoke or a barbell. Now, a big part of what you're trying to do here is very similar to negative in that you're giving your body stuff that it's not ready for. So when you lock that weight above and you're taking steps in the negative, when you're bringing that weight down, you only have so long before it collapses. Well, when you're already at lockout, when you take steps, you're getting little bumps, little jolts that not only do you have to stabilize, but also you're pressing out, you're dealing with, you're fighting here, you're fighting there. You're working a lot of things you normally wouldn't work, and your triceps get absolutely fried, especially with the longer walk. So I would highly encourage that you start using some sort of waiter's walk at the very, very end of your workout. Use it almost like a finisher. Literally take like 5 minutes and say, I'm gonna walk as many times back and forth to the gym as I can. Every single time that I need to switch arms or put this weight down, then I do 5 burpees, I pick it back up and go. You do that and trust me, you won't be able to wash your hair that night. And that, ladies and gentlemen, rounds out the end of the tier 2 exercises. So now we move on to the tier 3. These ones are the ones that probably mean the least amount. They're not gonna gain you that much strength. They're not gonna gain you that much size, but they are good for balancing as well as just kind of finishing off and kind of keeping everything well-rounded. So you need to think about things like isolation stuff, bodybuilding stuff. So of course, we're gonna talk about tricep extensions now. I believe in doing these in all sorts of ways. Most of you are gonna have some sort of contact with cable machines or something else at your gym. My gym does not have those, so we use bands. But I do think the important thing with tricep extensions is to hit them from all different angles. Do them supinated, do them pronated, do them above your head, do them out in front of you, do them with different grips, do them with ropes, do them with different handles. Do them all different sorts of ways and do them more than you want to. And that means that this is an exercise very much intentionally that when that burning gets to a place where you literally can't stand it, you're about halfway there. You need to keep going. You need to dig in to get the type of benefit from these exercises that you're looking for. And unfortunately, that happens way deep into that pool and typically where there is a lot of burny fun. The second little tiny isolation exercise that I would encourage that you do that I have gotten a good bit of success with is something like a nose breaker or a skull crusher, something with a curl bar where you're actually going down and you're trying to bring it towards your face and then going back to lockout. Now, what I will say about this is I never really got into doing these very heavy. A lot of people complain about elbow pain and problems like that, and I completely agree. They are not the most comfortable thing in the world for most lifters. If you can get away with it without pain, knock yourself out, have a good time. But for me, I definitely keep it lighter and I focus on keeping my elbows actually straight forward instead of winging out to keep more pressure on my triceps and actually use the muscles that I'm supposed to be using. And I don't do them a ton anymore, but I'd be lying if they were not part of my repertoire back in that day in high school when I was talking about how I did triceps all the time. They were a massive part of that. So I do still need to recommend them to you. And the very last isolation exercise I want to talk to you guys about is a simple push-up, right? Doing it all different variations, all different lengths, all different times, all different positions. Do it with a band around your back so it is more challenging. The push-up is something that is highly underrated. However, how many people do you know that left in high school as a skinny little kid, left for basic training in the military, and then they came back and they had some arm muscles, and that was nothing more than pull-ups and push-ups and sit-ups, guys. So it definitely will work if you do enough of them, but people don't take them seriously because they have all this fancy gym equipment. But I'm telling you, at the end of your workout, when you're fried, you can absolutely get an amazing workout that won't only kill your chest and shoulders, but you can destroy your triceps at the very end. So do not neglect something as simple as the push-up and of course the dip and everything else that has to do with your body weight. But guys, those are the end of the tier 3 exercises. So again, tier 1, that's where you're getting the most bang for your buck. You're getting the big mass exercises, the big strength exercises. Tier 2, more for a little bit of stabilization as well as working the weak points of your lift. And then tier 3 is going to be kind of just finishing off, trying to just get rid of absolutely anything else that is left in those triceps. Finish off the day, get a pump, do your recovery work. All of that falls into that kind of isolation area. So guys, I truly do hope this helps you out. The triceps have been something that have carried me throughout my entire lifting journey. And when I really wasn't good at something, like when I first went in strongman and I had to learn how to do a log cleaner press, I'd never done one before, and I would not have been able to do it because it was so ugly and technique was so bad. But luckily, I had triceps strong enough that I kind of eked some stupid reps out. So you can forgive a lot of sins if your triceps are strong enough. So hopefully these exercises will help you guys out. You will be able to apply them to your own training and your own programming, and hopefully it'll make you better, get you stronger, make your triceps. Yeah. So there you guys go. I will catch a relay in the week, but until I do, go out to something amazing. Realize, keep working hard, people. Be nice to each other. I'll see you then.